All right, we're about to take a ride on the school street. And so this is pretty much how it looked as you come in. Now they did change the parking some along the right side there. And we're coming past the newer building they constructed. I think that's called the Centennial Building. But when you get past that, it looks pretty much the same as it did, back when I went to school there from 69 to 74. And so your parents just simply pull right on up to the front of the building and let you out. And so if you went to the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, that's where you went, was to the Bell Building. And then your parents or your ride were going back to where they came from, and you'd come back and wait for them at the end of the day at the same location you were dropped off. We didn't have these nice brick sidewalks back then. It was all dirt, as you can see in this photograph. And so you just walk straight on up to the Bell Building here, and the room on the left is the 4th, and that one on the right is the 5th. I could have it reversed. And just walk right on up the steps, and usually these doors were left open. And I remember my boots hitting that wood floors that went up the steps there, and even to the Bell Building itself. Okay, I'm inside the school building. That's the 4th grade room on the left, 5th grade on the right. This is now the art room for the college. And I remember taking some science classes in here, and some teacher brought some earth from a place that was prehistoric, and we got to sift through it and find fossils. This is there again believes the 4th grade. I could have these reversed, and they both kind of look identical. Had desk in here back then, and the chalkboard's pretty much in the same location. And I always look out those windows for that tree out there because I wanted to get out there on it. And so I wore these boots there on purpose because I remember having these boots when I was at school, and I was able to find these on eBay. These are actually an old pair that was brand new from the 70s. I was playing a Leonard Skinner tribute band, so that's part of my wardrobe for that. And so I remember my boots clacking along the floors, and the bell rope hung in this hallway. And if you were a good student, they'll let you ring it. And of course, they'd ring the bell for the opening of classes, lunch, and also at the end of the day. Okay, we'll look at the left side of the 5th grade classroom. They've got a memorial garden there, which I'm going to have a separate video on. Looks like they planted this little scrub oak here, I guess to create another tree for someone to climb on in the future. Now, you can see that the side of this, right there in the middle, there was a breezeway that went between the 4th and 5th grade class to the 6th grade room. And of course now it's marked Marietta Johnson Museum, and that's where I met the director. And she spent quite a bit of time with me, which I appreciate, Rachel. And this utility room, I think, has always been there. And it's got the original gable-end vent up here at the very top. But that's the only one I could find on this. It has powered fans up there now to ventilate the attic space. And so now we're moving around to the right side of the 6th grade room. Now, I'm calling it grades, and they also called it grades at this point in the yearbook. So I guess they went back and forth between how they wanted to call these, between lives and grades. And now we're looking at the right side of the 4th grade classroom. That would be the right side as you faced it coming up the steps in the front. So we're going to go on inside, and I'll let you see the inside of the 6th grade classroom that I was in about 50 years ago. Okay, what we're looking at is the inside of my 6th grade classroom, and this is how it rounded out from 4, 5 to 6. And this is looking at from the front to the rear. Now, my teacher in this class was Mrs. Newell/Cox. She was Mrs. Newell, and then by 1974 she was Mrs. Cox. And there was some confusion over that, and I was finally able to ferret all that out. And so you can see in this next slide, how that sort of went. Now, this is a picture of our class at the time in 1974. And I also took this other photograph outside. That's why I'm not in the picture, of a class photograph. And also the picture next to it is some of the students at a desk in there. Now, when I started looking at the ceilings, I started admiring these registers up there, these AC registers. And we didn't have air conditioning back then. In fact, I don't think any of the buildings did, except for maybe the office. And so the windows were open, and sometimes we just hung out of them, like you see here. Now, this 6th grade room is now being used as a museum. Rachel has now done a great job organizing that. And so if you ever get a chance, go see it. And I'm going to show you some other slides of this as we go. There's quite a bit in there to look at. I was actually kind of surprised at how much was donated to this. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in there. I'm glad I took a lot of photographs while I was there. And so this is the placard on the door that tells you about the hours and when it's open. And so I recommend you call that if you plan to go see it. Now, on another note, Mrs. Newell was also, or Mrs. Cox, was also a musician. She played piano, and I think she played it for the folk dancing, and she may have even taught lessons. And so my mom and dad took her to see Guy Lombardo back in probably around 73 or 4. And that was kind of interesting to bring my teacher to that. I would have thought she'd been more into Led Zeppelin like I was at the time. That's why my hair was kind of looking like John Paul Jones. I was trying to get it to look like that. But I saw in one of the annuals that I have that she passed away, and I don't know when that was, but I just know that of probably all the teachers there, she was my favorite one. Not that the others were bad. I just really liked her. I mean, she was just a very sweet woman, and she really took time out to help me too, and I needed it at the time. And so we're looking at again the class photograph at the Bell Building steps of me, and that's her, I think, back there in the back of us. So thanks for watching, guys. This rounds out the Bell Building classes, and so I'm going to move to one more, and then I'm going to start doing some stories on the student life there, which I think you're really going to find interesting because it was very interesting to me. I was so glad that I went there when I did. Stay tuned, guys, for the next one.